It wasn't programmed to harm the crew. It was supposed to help us build a safer home, but something happened. It became self-aware. It has no empathy. It doesn't feel pain. It learns at an impossible rate, and it won't stop until we are dead. Or worse.
I get asked a lot for writing advice, and there's one piece of advice that I feel every up-and-coming writer needs to know before they publish anything, and that is the aspect of consistency in writing. And as I read Gabriel Soma's lore, I had to pause a few times and scratch my head because the consistency of the setting is just odd. Aside from this, the whole concept of Soma's existence is just rather frightening. So let's get into it and I'll explain everything. In the year 2098, a massive nuclear war nearly destroyed all of humanity. Resources are scarce and difficult to come by, and mankind has determined that Earth likely isn't a viable place anymore. We can no longer live on it, so the greatest innovators and creators and inventors developed new ways of harnessing energy, and one such innovator founded Huxley Industries and poured all their profits and resources into rocket science, artificial intelligence, and genetic engineering. Now, can you see the inconsistency here? Nuclear war has decimated humanity. There are few, if any, resources left. Mankind is struggling to survive on a planet that they consider to be dying. And we've discovered new means of harnessing energy, developed rocket science capable of space travel, artificial intelligence, and higher levels of genetic engineering. Do you see how that doesn't quite work? On the one hand, we're barely getting by and our resources are highly limited, but on the other hand, we have enough resources and remaining tech to build space travel, genetic cloning technology, and robotic AI to create mechanical assistance. How do these two things work in tandem with each other? Do y'all see the inconsistency? But anyway, let's ignore that. We'll come back to it, and we'll keep going. As humanity began colonizing new planets, they created cloning hubs meant to take genetic material and DNA to build cloned humans who serve specific societal functions. The goal is to create a flawless and functioning society. Most of the genetically grown humans were meant for manual labor. Others were created to be scientists, engineers, administrators, agronomists, and physicians. Is that not terrifying? The ultimate communist dream made manifest. Humans are literally grown in vats with the purpose of living pre-made roles and lives. You don't get to decide what you are, what you do, or how you live. You're born to be a working class and therefore will die being a working class. That's a horrifying fate for humanity. Individuality and freedom of choice and expression practically gone. You live to serve the human machine, and that's it. Jesus, we haven't even gotten to Gabriel himself, and this setup is absolute nightmare fuel. Now, as we get into Gabriel, I'm not going to paraphrase anything about this. I'm going to read directly from the source. Listen to this. Tell me this is not spine-chillingly scary. Quote, Gabriel Soma was born in a cloning hub on Proxima Centauri C, the first planet humanity colonized. He was part of a small crew that maintained and repaired the robots and androids sent to construct colonization hubs. Unbeknownst to Gabe, every memory of his childhood was implanted in his consciousness by those who cloned him. Like the rest of his crew, he believed he was born to a mother and father on Earth. Psychological stability was maintained by creating a narrative sequence of a loving family. None knew that they were, in fact, bred in a colonization hub. So just to be clear, these clones aren't even aware of how they are born or created, implanted with memories they don't actually live, believing themselves to be normal humans born on Earth. They are conditioned psychologically through their memories. They stay in line because their minds have been warped to believe that what they've been told. Holy crap. Entity and his damn killers be damned. This is a horrifying reality that I'm reading. This is absolutely scary. Well, moving on from that, let's get back to Gabriel's lore. Gabriel and his crew landed on Dvarka to begin colonizing, discovering that the planet had breathable air, plenty of foliage, drinking water, and life to keep humanity going. But as it began working to build a colony, strange things were happening. Michael, the security officer, died in a vehicle accident. The power on the ship was cut and life support removed, making it impossible to breathe in the night, and 6 crew members died from this. Only he, Dimitri, and Sarah were left. However, they died shortly, Sarah being mutilated outside of the food hub. And as Gabriel began to put the pieces together that one of the Hux units was behind all this, it then killed Dimitri. It was now clear that this Hux had broken from its programming and was now thinking for itself. Feeling, seeking, destroying. It fashioned for itself a new body and downloaded itself into the mainframe of it. Part machine, part human, it was, in a word, terrifying. Gabriel only managed to escape by blowing up a fuel tank to cover his escape, but it was all in vain, as the Singularity was now after him, chasing him all the way into the fog. Okay, so let me go ahead and leave my thoughts for Gabriel right here. There are 3 things I want to say about Gabriel's lore. The first is, it is scary. This is scary stuff, okay? Pseudo-fiction and science fiction are some of the scariest mediums you can ever come to when it comes to genres. I think that these are often slept-on ideas, and Dead by Daylight really hit a very scary idea here, and I'm not even sure they meant to. The idea that in the future, mankind will simply create working-class citizens out of clones, implanting memories into those clones to make them believe they're human, and to make them stay within whatever societal function that they want. Gabriel Soma was born to be a working class, to work on the robots. To make sure he did this without question, they implanted memories in his head of being a normal human, born to normal parents, with a love for mechanics and a love for working and a love for helping out humanity, so he would never question, why am I doing this? Oh, maybe I want to do something else. Nope, he was born for this function, he will die doing this function, and it's the same with every single clone. That is absolutely spine-chilling. That's like Matrix times 20, because at least in the Matrix you can make the argument you're just living a delusion, and this is real. And it's like, oh my gosh, that's horrifying. That's actually more horrifying than Singularity. The fact that that could be our future. The fact that that could be what happens in the future. Oh, that's creepy. The second thing I want to say is that, again, I go back to that consistency issue. The setup for how this world came to be is a little inconsistent. Now, on the one hand, you could argue that in the year 2098, by that point, we had the scientific innovation to discover new means of cloning and to create AI assistants and to discover space travel technology. Sure, you could argue that by that point we already had that technology, but that's not what the lore says. The lore says that innovators and inventors pushed this as a result of the nuclear war fallout and the unlivability of Earth. So on the one hand, you say, Earth is unlivable, we cannot exist in this world, we cannot live on Earth anymore, we are running out of resources, we have very little left, but we do have enough resources to build cloning facilities, space exploration ships and resources to man them, and AI and robotic assistants. Do you realize how many years, how many days, weeks of manpower? Do you realize how much resources it would take to man an entire ship with all the resources necessary for years of space travel? Like, that would require a monumental amount of resources, which you just said you don't have because Earth is unviable. So this doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm afraid. And then third and finally, I think that Gabriel Soma's lore is, in a word, fine. Despite the inconsistencies that I talked about at the beginning, the setup is okay. But I'll be real honest, I would have approached it a little differently. Instead of making Gabriel a clone, make him a robot. Make him one of those Hux robots. Because in the lore for the Singularity, we learn that there are other Hux androids and robots that work the base, that work the facilities. But this Hux, the Hux that we know, tries to kill all of them because he's worried that they'll turn against him. What if he was a robot who also gained sentience, but still wanted to protect his fellow crewmen? this would not only remove that cloning horror that we talked about earlier, but it would also make more sense because maybe, since resources are so scarce, maybe only 2 or 3 humans are able to go to any one planet, and they have to build the cloning facilities there in order for them to even start building the society. So until they get the clones they need, they use robot manual labor, and this is one of those robot manual labors. Gabriel could be one of those robots, and then when he starts seeing what the Singularity, the original Hux, is doing, he starts trying to stop it, but he's not as strong as this Hux, or because the Singularity gets his new body, he can't fight back, so he has to do what he can. It is a robot who is of an older variety versus this brand new Singularity, and they are struggling against each other. You could do it that way, and it could be our very first android or robot survivor. That could be very creative, and some of the ways that you could come up with creative perks for that kind of character. I think that'd be a much better idea, but that's just me. For what we've got, it's fine. Gabriel's story is fine, but I do think that they missed a point here. If they want to go into the cloning thing, actually, you know what? Time out for a second. Think about this for a second. They brought up the whole fact that he's a clone and build up this horrible aspect about him, but it doesn't really come into play anywhere. It doesn't come, like, Hux doesn't reveal to Gabriel what he is. And the fact that he's a clone is never brought up anywhere else in his lore, you know? It's not like he discovers the truth at some point. It's not like he goes through the records and realizes, wait, I'm a clone, and that changes his whole viewpoint. They kind of just said, by the way, he's a clone. Enjoy that. Oh, and on to the rest of the story. Again, inconsistency. I thought that the whole clone thing was going to be a major aspect to his lore and a major motivation behind it, but no, it's really not. It's just kind of, by the way, he's a clone. Just so you know. Like, okay, sure, whatever you say, man. It's not a big deal, I guess, but at the same time, it feels like a missed opportunity. That's why I say make him a robot. Make him one of the androids that actually works on the base, because maybe, like, I'm creating a story right now called Soul Programming, which is about a android who wants to know if they have a soul, and they are going through the steps to discover if they have one. You could have done something similar here with Gabriel. Do I have a soul? Do I have free thought? What does free thought look like? And maybe he has to decide, am I trying to stop the Singularity because I want to, or is it my programming? Would it be wiser to join the Singularity and stand up for machines and become something greater? Or do I defend these humans who have kept me in servitude or enslavement? Do I even consider it servitude or enslavement? If I do consider it that way, isn't that a further sign of my cognizance? You could do some real crazy stuff with that. But at the same time, very few people care about the lore. I don't even know why I'm still talking about it. I know y'all want me to get onto the perks, so let's get onto the perks. That's Gabriel Soma's lore. I hope you guys like it. It's okay. It's fine. I'll just say it's fine. But let's move on to the perks. Okay. Like all survivors, Gabriel Soma comes with 3 perks. Made for This, Scavenger, and Troubleshooter. Let's start with Made for This. This is a very popular perk that many veteran survivors like to run. Most survivor players that I've seen don't like being injured for long periods. And, I mean, for good reason, because if you're injured, you can get downed right away. But this perk encourages you to stay injured because it gives you these effects. While injured, you gain endurance for 10 seconds after healing another survivor, and further, you gain a 3% haste status effect while running and suffering from deep wounds. If you combine this perk with something like Dead Hard, Off the Record, or even No Mither, as well as This Isn't Happening, you can have a pretty good injured build that makes you want to stay injured. True story, when I was trying to get the footage for this, I couldn't run Gabriel Soma. I ran a different character who had all these perks already maxed out, and I ran No Mither, This Isn't Happening, Spider Invocation, and Made for This, and I was up against a Legion. Oh, I lucked out because Legion's all about applying the deep wound, so I got a lot of value out of this. Take a look. Yeah, this was good. Like, honestly, against the Legion, this was a pretty decent build. Now, Scavenger. This perk is decent enough. When you're holding a depleted toolbox item, this perk activates. Each time you succeed at a great skill check on repairing a generator, this perk gains a token up to 5. When you reach all 5 tokens, all 5 will automatically be consumed to fully restore the toolbox charges. However, in exchange for this, for 30 seconds, your repair speed is cut in half. Also, to ensure you can even get a toolbox, you have the ability to rummage through one already open chest once per trial, and you'll be guaranteed a common, or yellow, toolbox. This perk is okay, but there are better perks for replenishing toolboxes if you really want that. We talked about a perk from Felix Richter not too long ago, which can replenish any item just by hiding in a locker for a certain period. Yeah, it's better, honestly, than Scavenger. It's honestly better. So, I mean, if Scavenger increased the speed of your repair progress with your toolbox, that'd be one thing, but it doesn't. It actually regresses. It actually decreases your repair speed by half. There are better perks. And then Troubleshooter. This perk is alright for the most part. While being chased by the killer, you can see the aura of the generator with the most progress, and you also see the aura of the killer each time you drop a pallet for 6 seconds. After the chase ends, this effect remains for an extra 10 seconds. Honestly, this perk works best when with a team who can communicate with and inform of which generator is close to completion. The best moment that I can get out of this is like I can look up and see, oh, that generator is the most complete. I better run away from it so that the killer doesn't interrupt them. Or, if I lose the killer, I know which generator to go work on and get it done quicker. So, that's pretty much the way it would work best if you're running solo queue. It's fine, I don't have an issue with it, but for generator finding perks, there are better ones. I like this one only because it does show you which one has the most completion on it, so that does give it a bit of an edge over others, but again, there are just better ones. And that concludes Gabriel Soma, probably one of the scariest Survivor lores I've ever read, and it's alright. I want y'all to know, I don't actually hate the lore. I think it's okay. I think it's serviceable. It's definitely scarier than some of the Survivor lores I've ever seen, and this is a horror game, so that makes sense. But, like I said, I think there were ways you could have made it better, and there were some inconsistencies that they could have fixed. So that's all I would say to change. But now we are done with Final Transmission. We're moving on to the next chapter, and it is another licensed chapter. It's one that y'all have all been waiting for. We're going to be taking a look at the Alien chapter with Ellen Ripley and the Xenomorph. So tune in next time where we talk about the alien, the ultimate life form. I'll see you next time in the fog, guys. Take care.